Hello, this is Roy Durantes, and today I'm at the Salton Sea in the Bombay Beach area. And we have some great things for you today in this episode of Saving the Salton Sea. Today we have some great tips for you on how you can do your own short film for the upcoming Salton Sea Film Festival using whatever you have at your disposal within your hand's reach, such as your cell phone. We're going to show you how you can do that. We're also going to share with you more information on some of the environmental issues that continue to plague the area. And for that, we spoke to two local experts, one from the IID and another one who is a long-time expert on the Salton Sea. And they're going to share with you some of the issues that they see which are still of concern in the area. One of the easiest way to make your short film is by using your own cell phone. Just choose the video option and start recording. You can record like a selfie style. Hi, this is Roy and I'm at the Salton Sea, blah, blah, blah. And this is what I think of the Salton Sea. So you can record yourself using those comments. And then you can follow yourself around the Salton Sea, and then you can change the point of view so that way now you're recording whatever is in front of you, and you can do that for about 3 to 4 minutes as you walk around the Salton Sea, and then you push end and bingo, there's your film. You might be saying, well, but it's not gonna be as good as a Hollywood movie. Who cares? This is not about being as good as somebody else. It's not about being as good as this or that. This is about you telling your story. It's about you sharing with us your ideas, your thoughts, your point of view. And that's all it takes. Just get your cell phone and bingo, you have a movie. Hello, this is Roy Durantes, and once again we are at the Salton Sea. And right now I am with Katie Bernworth, who is an environmental justice advocate, and she has tons and tons of expertise and knowledge on anything that has to do with the Salton Sea. So she's my guest today. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
And right now we are actually standing at the delta, the south end side of the Salton Sea, and right to my left is the New River, but behind me is something very interesting, and Katie's going to explain to us what this is.
So right behind us, what you'll see is it's actually used to be a piece of training equipment that launched targets for the military. And so during a hurricane, it actually launched from way over there by what we'll call off of Poe Road, and then it landed right behind us. And so it's a piece of history that shows how just vast and how much the Salton Sea area changes over time.
There is so much to learn about the Salton Sea and how it affects us. And that's why I asked Katie to come here today to give us an update on where we stand on all the work that has been done or not done at the Salton Sea. So Katie, can you just give us a layman's understanding or explanation of where we stand with the Salton Sea?
So right now we're actually standing on what's the state's project of Species Conservation Habitat Project. As you mentioned, we're right near the delta of the New River. And so what we have around us, you'll see behind us, is actually a surface roughening. It's a temporary measure to hold down the dust for right now. But as you can see, it's very thin in crust. It's not as rough as possible with the very big dirt clods. And so you actually see a surface roughening project that was mostly researched by IID and their consulting team. And so what you see behind us is you'll see a lot of shells in it. That shows that those are actually barnacles. And so that shows that this used to be underwater.
And so Katie, the roughening process was done to mitigate the releasing of dust into the environment, but it is a temporary project, a temporary process. Tell us where that is at right now.
So this temporary measure was implemented about 3 years ago, and so the rough estimate life of surface roughening is about 3 to 5 years without any maintenance. And so since we're actually on the construction project or construction site of the SCH project, this will all be flooded underwater, and hopefully that'll be done by the end of 2023.
But hold on right there. What you're saying is that the life of this is about 3+ years, right?
Yeah.
But this was done when plans were set in place to get something done years before, which didn't get done, so the life of this is practically expired.
Yeah, pretty much. And so that's why, the state and IID and all of our stakeholders work together. So this project was actually design build. And so it's doing it to get it as quickly constructed as quickly as possible.
So what I understand, Katie, and correct me if I'm wrong, this roughening project was done years ago when something was supposed to have been done like immediately, but because it wasn't done, all the thousands and millions of dollars that was spent on this is practically gone. So they have to start again from zero. Am I correct?
Yeah, so the price tag of the SCH project pretty much spends most of the budget the money that has been allocated. And so that'll be a 4,000 acre wetland project. And so pretty essentially we've spent all the money that we've had set for it. And we're going to have upwards of 60,000 acres of exposed playa. And so, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a really, really small drop in the hat to fix the project.
Right, so that just tells me how important it is to continue the pressure on our elected officials to get something done. And I know it's not their fault. By no means are we blaming them, but it is up to us to continue raising our voices so that we can get something done. Otherwise, this is what's going to happen. Millions of dollars will be invested, and for what? For something to start and then stall. Katie, let's jump to another page now. What are some of the other projects in the area that have started and are successfully en route to being completed?
So as I explained a little bit earlier, the Species Conservation Habitat Project, that's going to be about 4,000 acres of wetlands that goes around the delta of the New River. Hopefully by the end of 2023, where we're actually standing, is going to be covered up with water again.
That would be fantastic, Katie. So for that to happen, what factors need to be met and what boxes need to be checked?
We can't keep the pressure off of our elected officials down here. We got to all work together as a community, and that means our agriculture community, our environmental justice community, and just everybody needs to remember that we all have stake in this game together. The Salton Sea is something that ties all of us together in the region, and so we all really need to work together and stand united on this type of issues.
Now, Katie, when we were coming this way and we almost got stuck on the way, now you were talking about the dirt that is beneath us and how soft it is and how thin it is. Can you help us understand again the danger that poses to the community?
Yeah, so what we're standing on right now is actually a dried up delta. So the delta of around the Salton Sea or any area, for example, is going to be your most emissive area. So you're going to have the most dust that comes off of it, because every single drop of dust or anything like that has been upstream or come off a farmer's field, come off the New River at one time was deposited right here. And so I use the example of, so somebody drops a beer bottle in the river, and by the time you find it on the beach, it's really smooth, and they call it sea glass. It's very, it's not sharp, it's not going to cut you anymore. Same type of thing goes for these dust particles. So you've had all these dust particles that have essentially broken each other apart, so now they're in PM10, they're size PM10 or PM2.5, and so when it blows, it just blows straight into the air. But when you breathe in those dust particles, since they're so small, they puncture into the deepest part of your lungs, or you can't breathe them out. So usually, I use the example of, say, you breathe something in and you're coughing, your body's trying to reject it, right? And so, but these particles, you breathe them in and you don't even really notice. And so it then affects everybody's respiratory system.
So you mentioned, and forgive the terminology, you mentioned the PM10, PM2.5. Can you help our public understand the difference between those two?
They're literally just the different size of the particles. You know, most of the time PM10 is essentially dust. PM 2.5 can be something like an aerosol, more of a gaseous type of pollutant into the air, but both are very hazardous to your health, or respiratory health.
So Katie's referring to a particle that is practically invisible to the eye. It is so tiny, it is so fine, it can go inside your nose, inside your lungs, and create extreme damage without you knowing at first because it's just so invisible. But over time, that damage can become extremely dangerous. Am I correct?
Yes, you're exactly correct. The example that I use right now is we're still in a pandemic. And you look at the numbers of how Imperial County was affected, and I would say that we were the epicenter of COVID-19 at one point. And so that just shows that down here we have, large air quality issues. If you look around today, we're surrounded by mountain ranges and you can't even see them because the air is so, I would say, dirty today. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that tie it in together, and showing how our COVID numbers just exacerbated and really kind of showed everybody that we do have these air quality issues. They are affecting everybody's respiratory issues.
So Katie, again, has tons of experience on what she's talking about. She's an expert on Salton Sea issues, on the health side of things, environmental justice. Is there something else that you want to share with us, Katie, that people need to understand and take home with them?
I would just take home to be aware of your surroundings. We all check the weather every morning, but we should definitely check our air quality every morning too. For example, I have mine on my Apple Watch that shows me the AQI, the air quality index. I have a son who has respiratory issues, and it'll give you an example of if it's a good day for them to play outside or not, or if you want to keep them, where the air is clean and where it's safe. And
so there are several apps that you can find online that will tell you about the air quality, which could really make a difference to your family if their health, is delicate. Tip number 2, if you want to go a little bit up a notch, then what you might want to do is you might want to buy yourself one of these gimbals. They're like about $100, something like that. They're not that expensive. And what they do is it gives you the ability to hold it like at arm's length, and it gives you real nice, smooth movement so you can walk and it can follow you, and you can also, of course, go forward and back with the point of view, but it gives you a real nice point of view, or rather it gives you a real nice follow on this. So you can buy yourself a gimbal for like about 100, 150. They're really inexpensive, and they give you a really nice smooth motion. Another tip that I want to give you is you can write the number of shots that you want to take at the Salton Sea. Let's say, for example, that you're planning on taking 10 shots. So what do you want to show on the first one? Well, maybe you want to show the lake, maybe a nice wide shot of the lake to show people where you're at. So that would be number 1. Number 2, maybe you want a shot of closer to the lake, maybe the water edge. Maybe the water's edge right there, that way you show people that you're like right here, right? And maybe number 3 is you want to show yourself, hi, this is Roy and I'm right here at the Salton Sea. Or maybe you just want to show yourself walking. You can have a friend of yours record you while walking. And then number 4, maybe it can have you, touching the sand or touching the water or whatever. So that way you have 10 shots. And maybe shot number 10, you go back to a wide shot and show yourself walking away from the Salton Sea or from the river or from the water's edge. So that's one of the plans. Or you can do this. You can do that or this. Just whatever happens. You just get the camera, you go to the Salton Sea, and whatever comes to your mind, you start shooting. You start shooting here, you start shooting there. You start letting your inspiration or your subconscious take over. You know, both methods work. I have used both methods. Now, if I'm doing like a formal shoot, I will normally write down my shots and my storyline. But once I get to the location, I also listen to my heart and to my subconscious, and inspiration sometimes takes over, and I get this really cool different shot. So you can try both ways. One, you can go with a plan, or two, just go and let inspiration and the moment take over. They're both good. Don't compare yourself to anybody. This is not about comparing yourself. This is not about winning, the best film of the year. This is about you telling a story your way, and that's all it is. Right now, we're standing at the east side of the New River and south of the Salton Sea. And with me is Alex Cardener, director for the IID in Imperial County. He's going to explain to us the significance of this bridge behind us. So Alex, can you help us understand what is this?
Well, this is a very important piece of infrastructure here when it comes to the Species Conservation Habitat Project, SCH. And in order for this equipment to get across, because the project involves both sides of the New River, you need to have a bridge. And this bridge is a very important piece of infrastructure in order to complete this project on both sides of the New River. This bridge is capable of moving equipment in excess of 150,000 pounds. And it's very important that we get this equipment across the New River.
So Alex, there are several projects around the Salton Sea, and for that, a lot of work in infrastructure is required. Tell us a little bit about the logistics of getting that infrastructure done.
Well, the logistics, it's critical because the sea and the shoreline of the sea is so unstable. So when it comes to scale and the beasts that are needed to move the earth here at the Salton Sea, it's extremely important that there is infrastructure. And that means roads, bridges, electricity. All of that is extremely important when it comes to the Salton Sea and completing this project.
So Alex, a lot of us are so impatient to see work done at the Salton Sea. We want to see things done now, but I think that some of us fail to understand the infrastructure work that is required before any of that work is done. Fill me in on that.
Well, again, we cleared a very important hurdle, and that's the environmental permits. That was a significant milestone when it comes to work on the Salton Sea. The next milestone that we have to overcome is logistics and equipment. So what you're seeing here today is a project that is in full swing, and it starts with infrastructure. Being able to get to the shorelines of the Salton Sea is not easy, especially on the southeast side of it. So you see equipment, you see bridges, you see personnel, and they are getting with it. This is going to be a jewel on the south end of the Salton Sea.
Again, a lot of us would like to see more work being done, but we have to give the proper authorities, the proper companies or entities the time to make that work happen through infrastructure. However, what we can do is give those entities support by, keeping up the talk about having work done at the Salton Sea, by contacting our local representatives and just letting them know in a nice way that we want this work to continue, because it is important to us for our health, for our well-being, and also for our economy. Alex, tell us a little bit about how this can help our economy.
This is huge. This is a $200 million project. And if you think of it in terms of economic stimulus, that is a significant investment into our economy locally that accomplishes improvements to our public health. So when you look at scale and you look at the amount of work and the infrastructure, $200 million price tag, and this only represents 4,000 acres of 60,000 acres that will be exposed in the upcoming years.
Something else that I want to share with you, is that you don't need to have all of this equipment like we have because we've been doing this for a while, but you can also use a simple DSLR camera, which will give you a real nice quality. And these are very inexpensive. They're like about $300. If you go on eBay, probably even $200, and you can get really nice 1080p quality on this. And or if you want to spend a few more bucks, then you might want to buy a Canon or a Sony. For example, this is the Sony A7 Mark III, which has incredible quality at 4K range, but it is fairly expensive. It's about $2,000 to $2,500 plus the lenses, so it does get a little bit expensive. So the thing is, use whatever is in your hands right now. Don't wait till everything is perfect. Don't wait till, oh, I need to have all of this first. I need to have all of this equipment. No, you don't. No, you don't. All you need is your cell phone or borrow a camera. Talk to a friend, talk to your parents, borrow their camera, and then just go to Salton Sea and start shooting. You can practice in your own backyard. The important thing is to start shooting, start practicing, start producing. We're asking you to create a 3 to 5 minute short film on your thoughts on the Salton Sea. Now, you don't have to be an expert on the Salton Sea. We're not asking you to do that. We just want to know your thoughts. Maybe you're completely wrong about the Salton Sea. That's okay. Maybe you say, well, we think the Salton Sea is like an ocean. That's fine. We're not asking you to be an expert. We're just asking you to participate with your thoughts, with your ideas. Maybe you want to record your brother or your sister dancing at the Salton Sea. Maybe you want to record your mom and dad discussing issues about the Salton Sea. Maybe you just want to come here and take photographs of the Salton Sea and put together a collage. That's okay too. Whatever it is that you're thinking about the Salton Sea, we want to know. So please, make a film, save the sea. 3 to 5 minutes in length, that's all we're asking. You have to submit in October, in the beginning, in the first few weeks, because the festival is at the end of October, and it will go on television, those who win the festival. So we're asking you, take part. The important thing is, share your ideas, share your stories. Do not compare yourself to others. Just be who you are and tell us your story.
Hi, this is Anush Shukla and I'm here at Salton Sea. First of all, I want to invite all of you to make one short film about Salton Sea. It really doesn't matter what it is, a video, a short film, pictures, anything. Just try to make something. Something about me, right, that I work with Roy and we are trying to produce something which affect Salton Sea, that okay, we are trying to make people aware that what are the problems. So we keep doing something, that we keep coming here at Salton Sea. About the film, you can make anything, as I mentioned earlier, that you don't need to be perfect. You don't have to worry about the expensive equipments, nothing. That just make something. You can make it with your iPhone, your like cell phone, right? Nowadays the cell phones, you can do anything and everything, that you don't need very expensive cameras, nothing. If you have it, it's good, but if you don't have it, don't discourage. That you can make anything with your phone nowadays. I really want to invite you to do something. You don't worry about making it perfect, right, wrong, anything. Just make something, what's in your mind. Just try to make some videos, some pictures, some photos, and please participate in the Salton Sea Film Festival. We will greatly appreciate.
This is Bombay Beach, one of the few tourist attractions still having people come back to the Salton Sea. For making this film was primarily just to learn more about the Salton Sea. I didn't know about it. I knew what it was. I didn't know more than what people have told me. So I went to do my own research, just Googled some things, and I learned a lot. With this, I learned about the environmental impacts with the valley, the history that caused this catastrophe, or, miracle, if you could say it, or also the social relations between both countries and the combination of our community. My motivation was to know more about it, and to spread a message to, help people out, figuring out what it is and figuring out how they feel about it, shed some light into things, more like that. Well, what I learned was a lot. Yeah, something that I really learned was the indigenous history of the Cahuilla, the Cocopa, the Kumeyaay, the Kichan. A lot of people use this lake or this sea as a guiding point or as like a home. A lot of people lived by the beach of this old ancient lake. And just like we use El Centinela today to bring an icon to the valley, this lake was a massive icon. Something else that I learned was the nitpicking of sciences in this, because there's a lot of chemistry and chemicals involved with this, and it's dangerous because you hear big words and you just assume that it's nothing that big, but there's microscopic metals in the air because of this lake, and this is coming into our lungs, and we shouldn't be having microscopic metals in our lungs. There's a lot of things we could do about it, There's so many ideas, so many plans people have thought, politicians have brought up, and I've also learned that there's been so much talk, but not much doing. There's things happening right now today, but it's a massive problem. The advice I would give to the people that are trying to enter the next festival would be just go out and do it. You're not going to be ready until you go out and do it. So, sometimes you might have to do it 2 times, 3 times, or maybe just 1 time, and that's the only time you did it. But do it, and from there on, you're going to be able to, take those next steps to complete and, feel accomplished, but you just got to do it.